Welcome to Phoenix Point Review, you crabby bastards. Phoenix Point is spiritual successor to XCOM games from the 90s, and it has its own take how this amazing series should look like. Firaxis did an amazing job after rocky start with their own version. Phoenix Point is very similar at first glance to Firaxis' version. Campaign has similar goals, soldiers move the same, 3 factions, and so on. However, there are so many small and big differences that I do not know where to start even. From mechanics perspective, Phoenix Point is superior game to XCOM. There shouldn't be debate about it. It offers more freedom and more options in every aspect except customization. Unfortunately, customization is not as great, but neither was XCOM's at first. So what are these mechanics I am babbling about? New aiming system, for example, it works much better. Basically, closer you are to the target, it gets easier to hit an enemy, thankfully. Manual aim is performed from first-person perspective and it works amazing. Enemies are all armored to a certain extent, but not every part is armored equally. So we can choose what to shoot off first. If enemy arms are disabled, they are useless, since there is nothing they can do. Destroy legs and their movement range gets reduced. Some body parts also have special abilities that are disabled by killing off that particular body part. Also, by killing any body part, bleed debuff occurs. Multiple body parts disabled equals stackable bleed effect. Overall, a really good system, much better than XCOM's in my opinion. Bullets now fly until they hit something, be it enemy, friendly or an object. So if you miss, bullet continues to fly until it hits something and everything is destructible, so things like collapsing buildings are not that rare actually. Action point system is also different. No specific action ends soldier's turn. Either you run out of action points or go into standby mode. This offers so much more freedom in what you can do in one turn. There's also an inventory system where you can store items that you find on missions in the backpack. Not to go too deep, let me offer a quick recap of some new features next to these ones already mentioned. Vehicles, many bases on Geoscape map, multi-classing, willpower stat for special abilities, good diplomacy system, technician class that drops turrets, no timer in missions and some more stuff. In short, Phoenix Point is XCOM, without so many limiting factors, with better systems in place. However, it lacks XCOM's grandiose, for lack of a better word. It is hard to explain. You know those two popular hooligan movies, Green Street Elite and Football Factory? Well, Phoenix Point is Football Factory to XCOM's Green Street Elite. It lacks flashiness, audio is not as good, acting is mediocre, picture quality is just decent, but core of it, the most important part, is much better. Faction system is also good. Our actions either piss them off or attract them. By helping particular factions, they can share technologies, offer huge rewards for protecting havens, give us missions to raid another faction's haven and some other stuff. I don't have many negative things to say except that even if we are at war with certain faction, we can still recruit soldiers from their havens. Makes no sense, but screw it. Factions will also war with each other, taking havens that you can protect if you want. Geoscape is similar to XCOM's, but with one major difference: multiple bases. In these bases we can construct additional things that help out, like living quarters, research labs, medical base and so on. Anyone that has played XCOM games before will feel right at home here. Cool thing is we can have multiple aircrafts transporting many squads at the same time, doing missions all over the world at the same bloody time. Also, we can steal aircrafts from factions and that is freaking awesome. I won't talk about the story because I didn't finish the campaign yet after 35 hours sunk into it, but so far it is alright. Nothing special and it ain't too bad as well. It lacks cool cutscenes like in XCOM, but I understand that there are budget limitations. So far it all sounds great, doesn't it? Unfortunately it ain't so. I personally think a game is too similar to XCOM, even with so many added different features and mechanics. For example, we are doing same story progression things like capturing aliens, which is very annoying in this game because of bleed effect. You need to time paralyzing certain enemies so that they don't die from bleed before clearing every other enemy off the map. It can get really tricky and frustrating at times. Even though there are far less frustrations in this game overall than in XCOM. Soldier animations are also exactly the same. Classes and character progression are similar to some extent as well. Don't get me wrong, classes are great and diverse with many special abilities and a multi-classing option. I like it quite a bit, but it is still very similar in my honest opinion. XCOM did much better job with maps, even though there weren't as many distractible objects. Problem is that there aren't many maps in Phoenix Point. Maps in Phoenix Point are just small sandbox things with stuff thrown onto it. Elevation isn't done great as well. It is very hard at times to figure out where the hell you are in the building and how to reach next floor or rooftop. It kinda gets boring playing missions after a while on these same maps. I don't think I was ever bored in XCOM, but it was a long time ago since I played it. I was frustrated much more frequently, that I'm sure, but bored not as much. XCOM at first wasn't nearly as interesting as it was after some expansions, namely War of the Chosen. Phoenix Point has DLCs planned, but we have to see if these are proper expansions or some small additions. So in the end, Phoenix Point campaign will be much more interesting as well. As things stand now, it is okay. It lacks diversity definitely, but it is enough to keep you going. Audio work is poor, unfortunately. Shots fired, explosions, movement, basically everything sounds subpar. That takes away from immersion a bit. Soundtrack is great, but the problem is we barely hear it. It is like it isn't there at all and just occasionally pops up for a brief moment. Game also has some game-breaking bugs that were abundant before the launch, but it seems they have patched most of them thankfully. From graphical and technical standpoint, I don't really know what to say. It's your classic Unity game. Performance is mediocre due to frame rate drops at times or stuttering appearing for no reason. It isn't pretty to look at as well. So what to do with this game in the end? It has better mechanics than XCOM, but it is not as good. If XCOM had Phoenix Point mechanics, it would have been one of the best games ever made. To be fair, Firaxis's XCOM wasn't that great when it arrived as well. It took years to polish it. Phoenix Point just arrived and it is at similar state, but problem is that they have already fantastic competition. XCOM didn't have any. After some polishing, added diversity, fixes here and there, I believe Phoenix Point has potential to be 8 out of 10, which means great game. For now I'm giving it 6, which is above average. If there was no XCOM to compare it to, which is inevitable at this point, then it would score higher probably. It is what it is. XCOM fans should play it, but if you are looking to get into XCOM games, I would recommend Firaxis's version instead for starters, and then after some expansions, Phoenix Point. Thank you for watching this review, I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more videos.